should men be allowed to compete in women's sports? Well, if Piers Morgan Uncensored's panel is a sport, and the episode about Iran a couple of days ago is any indication, absolutely not. That was a beatdown, the type of which, if this was a mixed martial arts fight, the ref would have stepped in earlier on. Of course, the ref being Piers Morgan. If that was the case in the octagon, people would be dying there left, right, and center. But yeah, this is we're back to the Pierce Morgan panels, and there's a bunch of things interesting about this one. First of all, because it's more supposedly on Iran than Israel, it's two men, it's two people on the Iranian side and two people on the Israeli side. Whereas usually when it's Israel, it would be, three versus two. And very uncharacteristically for Piers Morgan, he brought on two of the absolute best people in the world onto this panel on the right side, and really, on the other side, you see really despicable human beings. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna watch some clips, and I recommend that people watch the whole thing because at the beginning there was an interview with John Bolton, I think the best person in U.S. politics in the last few decades. Uh,
We may have lost Razi, I guess. Yeah, I guess I'll take over. So yeah, he mentioned John
Panel
Bolton. Oh,
get a lot more
welcome
time.
back.
All right. I don't know whose internet connection here was unstable, but should we just welcome to the reality show? By the way, just because of how bad the panel there made men look, we've decided for this episode only to assemble a cast of men only to show that not all men are like Cenk and Dave Smith.
Cenk
Uh,
Cenk and Dave Smith set a very low bar.
yeah, but yeah, we're gonna fight back and show that men can be decent. I'm joined by Jonathan Honig, Ia Reichel, Daniel Kraus. Should we go right into clips?
Roll the tape, as they say.
Sure. Where do you want to start? I have one from Pierce intro itself, which I think is worth commenting on it a little bit. Second is one Bolton clip because I just had to. But maybe we can play him
Yeah,
later
let's go chronologically then.
Okay, let's do one of the Bolton clips. Specifically, this one was when asked about what America will do when it comes to Iran, or specifically what will Trump do.
This question may have been overtaken by events when this airs, but is Donald Trump potentially playing a game of bluff here with the Iranian leadership? Has he got this huge military build-up primarily to force them to the negotiating table to unequivocally declare they will not pursue nuclear weapons?
I don't think he knows what he wants to do. If you look at comments by his lead negotiator, Steve Witkoff, over the weekend, he said, we can't figure out why, with all these air and naval assets, they're not ready to make a deal, which sounds like the reaction of a Manhattan real estate dealer. The fact is that that may be what Trump was hoping, but I don't think he's made a decision to strike either to vindicate the red line that he drew for the Ayatollahs against killing any more of their own people, on the one hand, or a strike, hopefully coordinated with the opposition, to destabilize the regime. For Trump, making decisions is very hard. He likes to keep his options open. And the mere fact we've put a lot of capabilities out there for Trump does not necessarily mean he will use them.
Daniel.
I just wanted to play this clip because I needed a little bit of sanity, especially after this interview or before this. And yeah, I think John Bolton makes a great analysis of Trump's actions. Or generally, I think even Western actions for a long time. It's simply let's wait and see what happens, and hopefully, let's hope one day we'll wake up and we no longer will have to make a decision. This has been the Western actions on Iran. I mean, we just wait for no reason. Hopefully, something will change. I see that. I mean, I have to say about Israel as well. It feels like Israelis sometimes hope that they wake up one day and maybe Palestinians will disappear and they no longer have to deal with it. This is the same thing about, I mean, when it comes to Trump, Russia, Ukraine, right? We're not really doing anything there either way. We're just hoping that maybe it will solve itself if we don't do anything. And this is not a leadership way of doing it, and this is not a rational way of dealing with your enemies by waiting and hoping that, hey, maybe they'll be good guys at some point, or maybe they'll forget that they have to deal with us.
Rand's quote, I have to jump in with Rand's quote, if I may, Razi. In any compromise between food and poison, it is only death that can win. In any compromise between good and evil, it is only evil that can profit. And that's who's profiting here. Trump wants a deal. He's okay with tyrants. We've seen that in Venezuela. He hasn't worked to overthrow their system, their socialist system of government. He's okay with Islamic theocracy. And I don't think he's prepared to make the military commitment. So we'll see some sort of a deal and sanction of the theocracy and perpetuation of that theocracy for decades to come.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Men's Deluxe, for the super chat. And yeah, Daniel mentioned Westerners hoping for things to happen rather than doing them. And Israelis, the one thing, Daniel, I think you got wrong is Israelis don't hope to wake up one day and for the Palestinians to disappear. They actually, even when awake, imagine that the Palestinians actually don't want to kill them, even though they keep saying it. So I think, yeah, in Israel, they actually live, in their mind in the world that they're hoping for, and then unfortunately discover that that isn't the real world. Yeah.
Yeah, Israelis are wishing for the Palestinians to stop hating them. And unfortunately, there are Israelis on the left who just imagine that it is the Jews' fault that the Palestinians are hating them. And that's just a shame. But yeah, if you it's a very common phenomenon today that when people has a problem, all they do is make wishes and ignore it instead of actually acting in accordance to their principle, to proper principle for their long-term goals. So this is just a widespread phenomena. The United States of America has been like that for the past 100 years. Besides the rare occasions where it was actually cornered and had to act, and then it did the right thing, but too late. And that's, for example, World War II. They could have prevented it way sooner. Unfortunately, they didn't. The United States were even the ones who pushed for the compromises of the end of World War I instead of unconditional surrender.
Next clip, and yeah, we'll cut it. We'll stop it a few times throughout the clip.
Young Turks is the longest running show in online history, so we were on the air during the Iraq War buildup, and we were one of only two national shows screaming, no, don't do it. Don't listen to people like John Bolton. The neocons have always been wrong, preposterously wrong. They said, oh, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. It's so dangerous. We have to go in. They said it was connected to 9/11. It was all lies. Now here comes the same liars lying to us again on behalf of Israel and saying, oh, my God, Iran is so dangerous. Weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, that's the ticket. We'll use that same BS argument. And then the second argument coming from John Bolton and the Israelis is hilarious. We
Wait,
care
let's
so
pause,
much
let's pause
about
it
the
and talk
Iranian.
about the first. I want to talk about that first argument because later on, I don't know if this is in one of the clips, but later on, Goldie points out that the Iranian television is showing Cenk, and here he's doing propaganda that even they aren't pretending. They're not pretending that there's no nuclear weapons program. Not really, unless I'm missing something. But he is actually telling Westerners what Iran itself is not telling the West because he is playing his role in the propaganda machine. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean the International Atomic Agency. What is the full title?
Energy, IAEA.
Yeah, thank you. That deals with basically the Non-Proliferation Treaty agreement under the UN, where it covers how nations can develop nuclear arms and so on, says that Iran is developing nuclear arsenal. The sanctions from the EU are coming because of the nuclear program that is coming from Iran. Funnily enough, it is actually Iran that is breaking international law when it comes to nuclear weapons, not Israel. But nobody cares. Well, nobody should care really for international law if it was properly understood why they shouldn't care. But we only don't care when it's other countries doing it outside of Israel, when it's somebody else than Israel. So yeah, I mean, this is. I think I think I talked to Alex when she said like Tucker interview with the ambassador to Israel. He sort of overplayed his cards. He's like so openly anti-Semitic and so openly anti-Israel that he doesn't even have to be as much to like get his like propaganda across. And this is the same thing like Cenk is doing. Like the amount of propaganda that is coming is so much that like I think Dave Smith is in a way like controlling it better. Like he's not playing it as outwardly as Cenk is, and I think it's coming across a little bit better if you don't really understand what he's saying. So yeah, I mean Cenk is coming across like insane in this whole interview. One last thing when it comes to, I mean, I'll mention this always when people say there were lies about Iraq. Nobody lied about Iraq. There were no lies about, like, if you say something and it doesn't happen to be true or it doesn't come up to be true, that doesn't mean you lied. It means you had wrong information or you used biased information or something else. Doesn't necessarily mean it lies. There is absolutely no proof that anybody involved with the invasion of Iraq lied about the weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, and
Rafi,
also we know Iraq did have weapons of mass destruction, by the way, people, because they used it on their own people. The question was what they had at that point in time. But yeah, Jonathan, you know, I I agree with Daniel. Like there's a contrast there. Dave Smith, if you have no idea what he's talking about, he might sound like he knows what he's talking about. Cenk at no point would sound reasonable to anybody, no matter he can talk about the weather. He's not going to sound reasonable. He appeals to a really certain type of the audience that probably people you don't want to hang out with.
my first reaction when I first heard about Cenk Uygur was, what exactly is a Cenk Uygur? But, watching this clip, you've really got to hate the West to run cover for an Islamic theocracy like Iran. One of, if not the number one state sponsor of terrorism around the world, outwardly hostile towards the U.S. since the late 1970s, a regime that would throw gay people from and hang them in public like everyday business. And that has killed 10,000 plus in just the last couple of weeks during this protest. And we've seen the images, some of the most horrible images in recent years that I can just remember are these parents and family members going through a sea of black body bags looking for their family member, probably a 17 or 18 or 20-year-old kid. Oh, I don't know, they're maybe just raising his or her voice for freedom, the kind of thing that in Israel is welcome, that is applauded as part of the culture there. So it's important to have these discussions. And I want to thank all the super chatters. We're here 7 days a week, original programming with all of these gentlemen and many more, inspired by Ayn Rand's objectivism. So Apollo Zeus, thank you. Bonnie Bertrand, thank you. You're all help keeping us here and keeping the conversation going and keeping Miss Rand's ideas at the forefront during this very tumultuous time.
Yeah, hopefully my internet will last for most of the episode at least. But yeah.
Yeah, important fact. In 1981, June 7th, Israel has launched Operation Oprah, in which it bombed Iraq's nuclear bombs project. Iraq, under Saddam Hussein, has been attempting to develop nuclear warheads in order to shoot at whomever. So the point that like Iraq did not possess weapons of mass destructions at the moment is so not essential in according to the fact. The whole point of whether Iraq developed chemical weapons or not, or did they have any or not, is not very relevant. Saddam Hussein's regime is a theocratic dictatorship regime, massacring its own people, invading its neighbors, basically spreading havoc around the world. And it just has no right to exist. It doesn't matter. This whole chemical weapon thing is a poor excuse to present a more essential case, which is this regime has nothing to do with preserving any rights. It has no rights of its own, and it's completely justified to remove such a regime if it's in America's interest, which it is, because this regime also works against American interests, and this is also true to Iran.
I really love and appreciate Miss Rand's clarity on this. And it was kind of eye-opening for me. You know, growing up, I was kind of taught to respect the UN. And boy, everyone at the UN gets a vote. So everyone's equal. And that's exactly what, when you read Miss Rand, she warned against. Iran is not a legitimate regime. They don't have the right. There's no right to enslave. I forgot where in Miss Rand's corpus, that gem is enshrined. So, Yar, to your point, I mean, you stop treating an illegitimate regime, stop sanctioning it as one that we know how it treats their own people. Why would they treat others any better? And they don't.
All right, let's go back to Cenk defending them.
Yeah, just quickly, somebody says, yeah, you're saying it's completely justified, even though no weapons of mass destructions existed, but 1 million people died in the process. You realize that, hopefully. I just love the idea that whenever Iraq war is mentioned, the amount of people that died like increases like 10x, like every single time. Like, where is this like million number of people? Like, and again, non-essential to focus on. Like, if a war is justified, there is no like, oh, if you kill too many people, it's suddenly not justified. Like, in every single war, if the war is justified, you do it and you finish it as soon as possible. Focusing on the amount, like, yeah, Germans died during World War II. If 2 times as many Germans died, and I could save like lives of a single Allied soldier, yeah, you should do it. Like, they are the ones that started the war. They are the ones that are aggressive dictatorship. It's not on us to like control ourselves. Like, if somebody runs at you with a knife, it's not on you to like make sure you don't injure him too much when you try to defend yourself. Once a deadly threat is being used, you end the deadly threat as soon as possible with the greatest amount of power you can impose to risk the injury to yourself as much. Again, you didn't pick to be in a violent confrontation. It's they who did so. And Iraq did by, I mean, invading several countries around itself, be it Kuwait or, even Iran for that matter.
Okay, before you go to the clip, just quickly, Apollo Zeus, thank you for all the super chats. Apollo Zeus says, Javid Shah, 3 exclamation marks. Amisal Chai, 3 exclamation marks. Goldie Gamari, 3 exclamation marks. And Elika Laban, 3 exclamation mark. I agree with the last 3. Let's watch the clip.
Go ahead. I want to address the point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the issue of weapons of mass destruction is irrelevant, as I mentioned. And here's the thing. The nations of the Middle East surrounding Israel has a tendency to crown and appoint and elect and promote and give moral sanction to dictators. Now, it derives from the fact of reality that crowning a dictator to rule you, it's not a good thing if you want to live, if you want to prosper. And if the people there want to die, so okay, they get what they wanted. But if they don't want to die, they have to learn the lesson that this is not a life-promoting action to appoint a dictator to rule you and support it and give it moral sanction. And the thing is, the phenomenon is that the Western world, out of mercy and actually a view of it, that is not just, basically feeds those people, and those people elect dictators. The results are horrible, and then the Western world feeds them like a host feeds a parasite, instead of removing this regime or just outright not trading with them and abandoning them to starve. And the point is that it is up to us, the Western world, to do the right thing in our little, field of influence, and to not feed evil and fight it when necessary. So the people who want to live over there will learn not to appoint such dictators. And if they do appoint them, or bring them up, or support them, or not fight them, it is their problem. It is their responsibilities. It is the consequences of their actions and choices that they will be facing. And yeah, whether we'll fight them or not, there's going to be a lot of death and destruction and horrible things going on, because that's what happens when you appoint a dictatorship, whether it's for communist reason or explicit religious reasons. It doesn't matter. This is reality. There is no peaceful way to live under a right-denying dictatorship. And it doesn't matter if it's a fight with America or with Kuwait or with other nations. And the free Western world do not carry the responsibility and the moral responsibility for those deaths when it's defending itself against those tyrannical regimes that has no right to exist in the first place. So it doesn't matter if there was WMD or not. And for the very least, Saddam Hussein has proven his will to develop such weapons, and his will to invade neighboring, unprovoking countries, and his will to fight against the Western world. And that's enough, regardless of what he's doing to his own citizens. That's enough to remove this horrible regime. And if people in Iraq are going to die because of them, that's on their hands. This is on the regime's hand, and this is on the regime supporters' hand. It is not the moral responsibility of the West to take care of the well-being of the citizens of the tyrannical regimes who want to destroy it.
Just quickly, one of the trolls in the chat, this is one of the new trolls that I haven't had the pleasure, I think I have maybe on 1 or 2 episodes, but I've seen them around, says, Iran have Republican democracy. They are changing prime minister since last 80s. First of all, at least know what your thoughts. It's president, not prime minister. And I don't think they're pretending it's a democracy. The Ayatollah gives you a few jihadist options. Pick your murderer, and they pick among them. To the point that even what's his face, the guy who went to Columbia University and said, we don't have that thing, gay people, that you have here in the West. He was even barred by the Ayatollahs from running because he was too much of a reformer. So that's Iranian democracy for you. Let's see Cenk defend that democracy.
So much about the Iranian people. Those Muslim lives mean so much to Israel and to the neocons. That's why we have to bomb them and kill them. Get out of here. Nonsense. So, look, for the folks on here who are Iranian, there are plenty of Persians who say, yeah, we hate this current government. I don't blame them for that. I have great sympathy for them in that regard. But you could say, hey, the Iranian people would like this. Trust me, bro. Maybe. The Israelis can say, we demand another war in the Middle East on our behalf. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and that one cost you a couple of $1 trillion, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. But we demand that America listen to our orders again, and that's exactly what they're doing. Or we can listen to the American people. How is this a difficult choice? You cited a poll where 70% of Americans said we don't want this. There's another poll out that says 85%. So if we were having a panel here that was representative of the American people, it would be at least 8 people saying, no, don't go in, it has nothing to do with us, and 2 people going, yeah, we need it for Iran, and 1 person for Iran, and 1 person going, we need it for Israel. So we don't need it at all. It's going to be an epic disaster if we get in. Unfortunately, the president's a bit of a child, so the Israelis lead him around by the nose. Attack their sites. No, get their uranium. No, get their ballistic missiles. No, make sure they don't support the proxy groups. Constantly pushing and pushing America.
Okay, enough. I need Cenk in smaller doses. But remember, it wasn't like hundreds of years ago that the last war with Iran happened. It was a few months ago, okay? It was less than 1 year. And we all remember that, Cenk. We remember Israel battering Iran day after day, and the Iranian regime would not have existed probably in early July, certainly not today, had Trump not saved them and said, I am saving them. He said, I don't like regime change. Regime change is messy. What does that mean in the context of the Iranian regime? I want to keep the murderous Ayatollahs who sponsor the world's biggest sponsor of state terrorism in power. That's what happens, okay? So that's what happened in June of last year. And, unfortunately, I'm not too optimistic about whatever Trump doing now being what needs to be done. But there's also this weird point of Cenk speaking for the Iranian people, not just because there are two Iranians there. Again, just being Iranian doesn't mean you speak for the Iranian people any more than Dave Smith speaks for Jews. But um, yeah, tens of thousands were slaughtered. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, were out on the streets. They're still protesting, knowing that they are, putting their lives at risk. So the Iranian people are speaking, Cenk, and you are speaking for their oppressors. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, just to go through his points, well, of course, he does the, we demand war as he's emulating Jewish people, apparently. He says, we should listen to American people. 85% of Americans don't want war with Iran, which again depends which poll you take a look at. But even that, even those polls that say, Americans don't want war with Iran, we are talking about like ground troops in Iran. Nobody, even the most most neoconish people, are not calling for American troops to be in Iran. They are calling for strikes, or they are calling for some involvement from America, just like something similar to 12-day war. Which again, yeah, 85% of Americans don't want war with Iran. But guess what? About 80% of Americans want American strikes to prevent nuclear Iran. It's the same, about the same percentage of Americans also want some action in Iran. They don't want an all-out war, but they want some action in Iran. But, always convenient when we only mention one side of those polls. So again, even if we want to go by the polls, Americans want some action when it comes to Iran, specifically to prevent nuclear Iran. And then he does the joking of when he is acting as a Jewish person again. He's make sure they don't support proxy groups. I'm sorry. You mean it's okay for Iran to support proxy groups, or that's like an insane thing for Israel to call out? Hey, maybe Iran shouldn't support the Houthis that are attacking international shipping. Maybe Iran shouldn't support Hezbollah that killed French and American soldiers. Maybe Iran shouldn't support Hamas that kidnapped Americans. Where else? Like Chinese people from Thailand, people from France, people from UK, people from America, people from Israel, of course, as well as Arabs. Yeah, maybe that should be stopped. And Chang is like, oh, how dare you? How dare you ask to defund the proxy groups? I mean, he's actually crazy. And this is how he overextends himself, right? He has to criticize every single thing that is pro-Western or that is pro-American, and that leads him to apparently say that supporting proxy groups by Iran is apparently okay.
Jonathan, I bet earlier in the week when you were stuck in that blizzard in New York, you thought that's going to be the worst part of your week. Has Cenk managed to take that top spot?
I mean, it's unbelievable egalitarianism. I mean, he sees no difference in the West. He wants to paint at every opportunity Israel as this mischievous mouse that's leading America around, forgetting for the fact that perhaps Israel and the West and America could have common interests against every country that surrounds Israel, which is some sort of Islamic dictatorship. It makes me think, I remember at one point, Dr. Peikoff was asked about what do you do to menacing dictatorships. And he said something to the effect, maybe someone in our chat might remember, but of make the threat non-threatening. And that's what has to happen here. I'm not a military expert. I don't think it would necessitate a ground invasion. The Trump's administration seemed, hell-bent just a couple of weeks ago to emphasize the fact that that Iran had no more nuclear capability. Now suddenly they have all this nuclear capability, but no one's made the case of why there needs to be a war with Iran. Yet Iran, we know, has been at war with us since the late 1970s. I mean, over and over again, they're chanting death to America. That's not just like a funny little local colloquialism that they include in all of their official meetings. That you have to have serious evasion to kind of missee or not see the fact that Iran is at war not only with the West, but with its own people. And Ms. Rand said this. She said, in effect, if they don't have respect for their own people, why are they going to have respect for their neighbors? And the fact that there are young people still out there in the streets speaking out against the regime, I mean, incredibly brave. And Cenk is speaking out against their tormentors, against those who would put them in the body bags for their families to find in days to come.
Yeah.
Well, I have 2 points. The first one is regarding the polls Cenk is mentioning and saying how like 70-80% of the Americans do not want this conflict and they're being pushed by Zionist billionaires. Well, this is obvious that people in free society do not want conflict, bloodshed, war. Yet he's making the wrong conclusion. He's concluding that since those people don't want war, America should not fight evil. And this is the opposite conclusion. If you want to live long term, you have to act in the immediate term, right now, to remove those major threats, especially these kind of threats like the Iranian regime, that the more the time goes, they keep developing. The more time goes, they acquire more money, they build more weapons, they support more proxies, and this problem becomes bigger and bigger the more you ignore it. So if you want to live long term and you think about your future and you have this medium-sized problem now and you don't want it to become a huge-sized problem in the future, you have to take action to remove this regime that is directly a risk for you and have already attacked, in this case, Americans and killed Americans, including terror activities within US soil that is backed by the Iranian regime. Now, his second point, he's basically saying America has failed in the Middle East. America has fought war in the Middle East, paid in blood, thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people have died, and the results are not good. And he's right. But once again, he has the reverse conclusion. He's claiming it's because they didn't listen to him or this kind of views that he's holding. Well, it's the opposite. They have been listening to these points and applying those kind of points of this unjust humanitarianism and the avoidance of regime change and avoiding dictating what kind of regime should come, like they did in World War II, when basically they rebuilt Germany and Japan, giving them a constitution, so forcing them, which is a good thing, to respect human rights. This is, unfortunately, America did not do it in the Middle East. They've listened to guys like Cenk. So whatever regime came out of the rubble were backwards, tribalist, tyrannical regimes all over again. So yeah, the solution is not, oh, I'm going to ignore all of those threats and all of those regimes and just mind my own business until they kill me. The solution is I'm going to attack evil. I'm going to destroy evil. And I'm going to establish a good regime, a right-respecting regime that will climb out of the rubble. And this is what the people in Iran want. There is a huge number of people. I don't know the percentage between the fanatic Shias and the actual people who want freedom in Iran, but there is a critical mass, if I can borrow this term, of people in Iran that want a right-respecting regime, a pro-Western regime. And it is the responsibility of the Western world to allow these people to rise off the ashes of the destroyed Iran, to build a better society that will be an ally of the Western world. Otherwise, you'll remain with an Iran that's trying to destroy it and acquiring eventually nuclear weapons to shoot at Western world. These regimes are like Hamas. They are suicidal. They want death. Death is the success case for them. You look at those arguments, oh, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do such a horrible thing that will eventually destroy them. Yes, they will. This is their end game. Their end game is dying, and you're dying as well. This is their end game, and we need to prevent it. We need to make sure it's only happening, only the first half should happen. They should die. Those crazy Ayatollah regime should die in a way that you'll stay alive. The people who are on the side of the living should know when to destroy those in the side of the dead and not let them force everyone to join the club of the deaf. Because like we want to live, we want to be prosperous, we want to be successful, we want to be happy, we want to have our rights, and we want to live as creators. So it's up to us to destroy those who intend to use violence against us. And if we won't do it, we'll receive the violence, we'll receive the death and havoc and destruction. But that's not what we want.
Daniel, before you play it, is it? Do we have much more of Cenk? And do you
I
have
don't think so.
like a Levon clip at some point to counter this? Because it's unpleasant.
Yes, next one. Although
Nice.
I would tell people, notice what happens when a woman tries to speak while Cenk is also on the same panel.
This whole Jews control the world trope is just becoming very old. This is, please don't interrupt me, Cenk. I let you spout your jihadi propaganda. I don't have the time or patience to deal with your nonsense. So if you, all right, you know what? Piers, I actually just sent you a clip of the Islamic regime, state TV, airing your interview from last time, where they are defending Cenk and they're attacking me. I just sent that clip to your producers. So, you have to ask yourself, when you have the Islamic regime defending the arguments of someone like Cenk, it makes you wonder, is Cenk working for the regime or is he being a useful idiot for them? All I'm saying is that, these anti-Semitic tropes, no one's buying them anymore. Ultimately, the Iranian people have made it very clear what they want. And as you can see, the fact that even I'm speaking is threatening Cenk so much that he feels the need to laugh and interrupt. But, I do not listen to the words, or I don't even want to legitimize the words of anyone who is being defended by the Islamic regime, because you don't go on the Islamic regime state TV unless you're basically sanctioned by Khomeini. So it's very strange to me that someone who claims that they're America first is being defended by the Islamic regime.
Well, to be clear, I don't think Cenk has gone on Iranian state TV. They've used a clip of him, right? He hasn't gone on there.
They used a clip of him to defend his arguments about
by the way, Piers thinks he's defending Cenk there. That's not better. I don't think that's in any way better. You do your propaganda for the West, and the Iranians love it so much that they just show it to their own people and say, look, even in the West, we have these supporters. Yeah, Goldie is amazing, and kudos to her for going straight after Cenk. The Young Turks are really testing the waters culturally, and I think it's mostly Anna Kasparian more than Cenk. I don't know if you guys saw this, but she tweeted in response to somebody yesterday, "Hey bitch, the goyim are waking the fuck up, deal with it." And so I think Anna is more the one testing the serious anti-Semitic stuff, and Cenk is doing more of the kind of political propaganda. But it's good to call them out, and it's good when they're called out to their face. And all Cenk can do is laugh, and later we might see him shouting. It's impressive. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, nothing preceded this. From the start, he started interrupting her. He started haha, or oh, what are these child? I cannot imagine actually. If you don't believe she deserves any attention, don't show up on the show with her. If you think she doesn't deserve any respect, which I know in Cenk Uygur's culture, women usually don't speak without permission, so maybe he's a little bit off. But he lives in the West, and he should learn that even women have rights over here. And when it comes to generally, I like him being played in Iran, right? He what is this argument? Oh, I didn't go there. It's yeah, I didn't have an interview with Goebbels. He just played me on a national TV. That's not the defense. That's not you didn't make it any better. The fact that Cenk Uygur or Tucker Carlson, that he also was played in Iran, was played that without any additional thing, any additional editing outside of maybe subtitles or a translation, and they can just play it and they're happy with it, right? I mean, that should tell you something. If you have an interview with a dictator, or if you have an interview with whoever, and the dictator is happy to play it without any editing, you should really think hard about what did you actually do. Similar to Tucker Carlson interview with Putin, right? That came out without any editing, without any need for any additional stuff. It should maybe worry you about why he was okay with it coming out like that.
And I'll just say, as someone who's done about, I don't know, 7,000 of these panels, Cenk is totally being a complete dick. He's being a real asshole to somebody who's trying to make a point. He is, in fact, interrupting her and belittling her and infringing on her time in a way that she did not do to him. So, he makes for great TV, but his seething hatred for the Jewish people, and Rand went out of her way, in fact, in the late 70s to talk about supporting the Jewish people and laid out reasons why and why she supported them. But Cenk's just such an ugly human being, even in the context of having to listen to somebody, I don't know, maybe support Israel for 90 seconds or so. He can't shut his trap just for that period of time to listen to something besides his own hatred for the West and Israel in particular.
Quickly, yeah, before I go to you, one of the trolls in the chat has come up with an argument that I don't think any of us can really answer, which is, the truth is, guys, the majority of influencers and people agree with Cenk regarding this war. Tucker, Megan, Candace, Anna, Cenk, Owen Schroyer, and others. Yeah, I mean, come on. How do you answer that? By the way, why did you stop there? Why didn't you add Nick Fuentes? Why didn't you add, the actual Hamas people fighting? Why didn't you add every Nazi movement, actual Nazi, like people who self-identify as Nazi, everywhere? That's who you are on the side of. And yeah, right and wrong is not determined by vote. And yeah, most people can be wrong on this and are.
Yeah, but sorry, just quickly, because I just gave an example. You gave an example of like a people that are on the fringes on both of their movements. Like, what is it? Tucker, Megan, Kelly, Candace, Anna, Cenk, Owen, Schroyer. I mean, Anna and Cenk are not like even the representatives of the left. They are on this progressive side, on the more extreme left. As same with, unfortunately, Tucker, Megan, and Candace are becoming a bit more mainstream, even among Republicans. But even that is like on the more insane side. So when it comes to Americans, when it comes to Israel, Americans are still behind Israel, and both Democrats and Republicans are largely still behind Israel. Those people are not the representatives of either side or even general American population. They are representatives of insane people on the internet, and I hope they will stay there, although unfortunately they are getting more power. But again, like the idea that if you get another Democrat or even Republican or either way, another the president, that they would support the ideas of like these people instead of what largely has been sort of kind of half-measured response when it comes to helping Israel or even attacking Iran. But yeah, these people are not, thankfully, yet representatives of the broader movements.
Yeah.
Well, this is the argument of social metaphysics. This commenter basically thinks any individual point of view is invalid unless it's the consensus. And then he brings those crazy maniacs as the consensus, says, all those people, all this consensus believes that whatever point, and you as an individual say something different, so it's invalid. And to elaborate on that, there is this known phrase, tell me who is your friend, who are your friends, and I know who you are. And if you put it in the context of this guy's social metaphysics, so show me who you lean on, who is the social metaphysics, who is the people that you see as the collective, and I will tell you what are your wishes and what reality you imagine you are currently living in. So this is just a tool for delusional men to make like a wish to some sort of reality. All of those people who are representative of everyone, I guess, thinks this way, therefore it's true. This is such a backwards way of managing your knowledge. And this guy, I can assure you, this guy is very unhappy and has a very poor life and is very frustrated. I can tell, because you cannot have a good, prosperous, happy life with such a view on knowledge. This guy is just poor and very frustrated in his life, I'm sure.
Yeah, and he is a regular in the chat, and one of the regular trolls who actually keeps telling us that he's not, pro-Palestinian, he's not taking a side, he's just telling us, what the other side is saying, and telling us, look, all these people who don't know if the earth is flat or round, and all these Nazis are on the other side, so maybe y'all should also join them. No, thank you, but we will listen to more of them. Actually, no, we have Elika Laban next, right? So. But
No, I think we have Dave Smith next.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna. So there is more with from the interruption clip, but we don't have to play it. Cenk just interrupts a bit more. But yeah, then we have Dave Smith. This is also a longer clip, so maybe we can post it at some point.
Well, I mean, first off, I'll defend Cenk on say I don't know. I think I'm the only Jewish guy on the panel here. There's nothing even remotely anti-Semitic about what Cenk said, and obviously, Piers, there's no. I don't.
Okay, let's pause there. Let's pause there. Yeah, that actually, this is. I mean, every Elika Laban moment, probably in her entire life, is wonderful, but this was particularly great because, yeah, you know, Dave Smith does what Dave Smith does. Dave Smith is one of the biggest anti-Semitic pieces of shit on the planet. He happens to be from a Jewish background, and he tells us every time he opens his mouth, he tells us more than Zach Polanski, for people familiar with British politics, tells us that he's Jewish whenever he's promoting the extermination of the Jews. So this is a Dave Smith thing, and he gets away with it. I'm Jewish, therefore, you know, and then she says, do you speak for all Jewish people? And oops, it turns out, no, you don't, you piece of shit. Not all Jewish people want to see, want to go back to the chambers. Daniel.
I mean, he does. Nobody speaks for any like other people. I don't know where people even get this idea that you're speaking on behalf of somebody. Everybody is an individual. Maybe to some extent, if you are elected representative, you can maybe speak on behalf of some people. Although even that is a bit weird. I mean, I don't think I even have much more to say. That I mean, they didn't say that much. So
no, it's
yeah, he did cut the
he's
clip
speaking on
early,
the behalf
but
of he's speaking on the behalf of the collective. You know, he's a Jew, so he knows the Jewish thought. So he can say he can be the arbitrator whether it's anti-Semitism or not because he's of Jewish descent. This is such bullshit. Once again, you need people negating their own mind and just saying, "Okay, I'm a collectivist. I'm part of this collective. I get the truth relevant to this collective and deliver it." It's such a weird way to look at the world. Such a foolish way to look at the world.
And Dave really leans into that. I mean, he loves it. He appropriates it and he uses it. The fact that, he was born Jewish and he happens to hold these anti-Semitic perspectives. I mean, he loves that. He really, leans into it. And it's pretty reprehensible, to see it. But, he has ridden this horse to great prestige in recent years. The fact that, oh, yes, even he, born a Jew, is willing to say such, anti-Semitic junk is done him is very well for him in terms of his awareness and his size of his platform.
Yeah, and he gets away with this "I'm Jewish" thing usually. So again, that's especially when he's talking to people who are on Israel's side who are not Jews. And Elika Laban didn't let him get away with it, so that was wonderful. Thank you, Christopher Smith, for the super chat. Let's watch some more of that clip.
And obviously, Piers, there's no. No, I don't. I think actually all this identitarianism is pretty stupid, but I think it was pretty stupid to call Cenk anti-Semitic for saying that obviously Israel. I mean, Piers, it's just completely undeniable that Israel wants this war. Every other week, Netanyahu comes here, and when he does, that's all they talk about. And if you want to say that, I mean, look, of all the wars, in fact, John Mearsheimer and Walt wrote that great book, The Israel Lobby, and they had a couple of great anecdotes in there where U.S. officials were saying during the Iraq war to the Israelis, like, hey, shut up, because you're making this look like this is a war for Israel. Like, you don't want to reveal that too much. In this case, this is clearly a war for Israel. I mean, that's what the geopolitical motivator is here. And listen, for both you guys, I'm an anti-government guy across the board. I'm anti all governments, including the mullahs and the Ayatollah. But if you're actually arguing that U.S. foreign policy moves based on humanitarian impulses, it's just too ridiculous. I mean, we back the Saudis in their genocide of the people of Yemen. We back Israel in their genocide of the people of Gaza. We back all types of just brutal regimes. The United Arab Emirates and their role in Sudan right now, that doesn't stop us from backing them. So the idea that this has anything to do with like the treatment of the Iranian people, That's all just ridiculous. It's not about that.
Okay,
And
okay,
Piers,
okay, all
all
right.
those
So the last part is where he's psychologizing on everybody who supports this war. But even before that, yeah, you know, the response to "Are you speaking for all Jews?" of "Oh no, I'm totally against identity politics," just after you told us you're a Jew as a preface to your argument. Yeah, that's pretty special. Another thing that's pretty special there, and I've heard this from anarchists who self-identify as anarcho-capitalists in the past, which is that, you know, I'm against all governments, but, you know, the ones I can sort of be okay with somehow always turned out to be the most murderous totalitarian regime, which tells you something about advocates of anarchy. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't as much to comment on, so I'll actually make 2 points. One, he's like, oh, I just didn't like the anti-Semitism claims, just because Cenk said that that clearly Israel wants this war, which again wasn't even the claim, and nobody even disputed. Later on, both of the sort of let's say pro-Israel representatives will say that, yeah, obviously it's in Israeli interest to take out Iran. Like, nobody's even disputing that. What is anti-Semitic is, of course, saying that America would only go into war because of Israel, that it only went to war with Iraq because of Israel. That's the most famous anti-Semitic trope of, like, Jews are controlling every single thing in the world, including the American government. That's what they were calling out. And then secondly, it absolutely makes sense for anarchists to support states like Iran, because what is the biggest enemy of an anarchist? It's a successful state. Because if you have a successful state, it proves that for success to happen, you need a government. You need a government to extract force from human interactions, so they can only deal by persuasion. They can only deal by consent of the both parties. And that is an enemy of any anarchist. That's why Dave Smith hates America. That's why every single anarchist, they hate America more than any other country. And Iran or North Korea or Russia, those are great countries, because look, they can show, look how governments are oppressive, look how bad governments are, but they need them to actually exist, because that justifies their belief. But while America exists, well, that kind of goes against, or any Western country for that matter, Israel especially, right? Just look at Israel. In the sea of barbarism, it's one country that actually recognizes individual rights and is able to flourish despite, for example, not having any natural resources, simply human minds coming together and building. That's why Dave Smith needs Israel to disappear. It kind of goes against his anarchism.
Jonathan.
Well, makes me think of Mr. Rand's comment that the evil of the world is made possible by nothing but the sanction you give it. And that's what people like Cenk and Dave Smith and Anna Gastear, whatever her name is, this is their stock in trade, is sanctioning evil. And, they do it when they defend a regime that has made war against the U.S. explicitly since the late 1970s. If anyone to borrow from what you are so brilliantly illuminated, if anyone doesn't have a right to exist, it is that regime. It is that regime that Cenk seems so eagerly desperate to defend at every turn.
Yeah.
I think we should show the barking dog part in the such little time we have left.
Oh, I think it's actually the next clip, so.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, I really respect General Clark. I don't know what's happened to him. That letter was very clear. The neocons and Israel First did execute it. They have knocked out 6 to 7 of those countries, just like they said they would. They've gone to Iran at the end, just like they said they would. If we're talking about a country that is destabilizing the region and the world with endless wars, that country is Israel. Look, this whole thing is topsy-turvy. The whole framing of the discussion is ludicrous. Israel has attacked 7 of its neighbors, not Iran. Israel forced us into the Iraq war, and they said it would be easy, and it was a disaster. They said they were doing it for the Iranian people, and then we wound up killing hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. We lost thousands of our own men. The fake weapons of mass destruction evidence came from where? It came from Israel. They pushed us into the war with Libya. Now there's modern day slavery back in Libya. Every war they have pushed us into has cost us trillions. Hold on, General Clark. Hold on. They have cost us trillions of dollars. And you know that. And they have cost us blood and treasure. And it's Israel doing it, General Clark. Be a patriot. Be a patriot. Stand up for America, not for Israel. I'm not going to go to another war for Israel. We're not going to spend trillions more for Israel. We're not going to lose American soldiers for Israel. The Israelis have bought 94% of Congress. The Israelis have bought Donald Trump. And this is a fact. And you guys keep obfuscating these facts.
Can we have some respect for the general, please? I think he doesn't deserve to be screamed at.
No, he's interrupting me. You should have respect for the American people, 85% of whom do not want to go. General Clark, why are you pushing us into this war when 85% of Americans don't want it? And you yourself know that the neocons have wanted this war for 20 years. Our interest? What interest? We said nuclear, and then we got rid of their nuclear facilities. Then now all of a sudden ballistic missiles. General Clark, tell me with a straight face that we have a right to demand that any country end their ballistic missile program.
Why don't you stop?
Ballistic missiles, we'd have to get rid of the whole world for Israel if we're going to get rid of ballistic missiles.
Let him respond.
Of courtesy to other people.
Yeah, that's Cenk in a nutshell. Daniel, where can people find you?
My YouTube channel, Temp10. Yeah, I think the clip mostly spoke for itself.
I know everybody wants to comment, but yeah, the clip does speak for itself. Jonathan, where can people find you?
Check out the book. Can You Really Love a Dog? Starring my co-star here. It's available at Amazon, co-written with Dr. Peikoff. Can You Really Love a Dog? And Ayn Rand and Leonard Peikoff on pets.
Really surprised Modine stuck around for Cenk, but I guess at some point you become desensitized after you watch that too many times. Yeah, where can people find you?
All right, I have one closing statement. Daniel, I sent you a link for a YouTube video with a timestamp. If you can present it after the closing remarks, wonderful. If not, the loss of the viewers, I guess. I'm Yair Reichel. I'm an associate of the Ayn Rand Center Israel, and you can see, you can find our YouTube channel. We actually had a meetup today in English, so you can watch it in English and see the Israeli community discussing Rand's ideas. I'm also the leader of a movement called Victory Now. We have released this book, Victory Now, which presents how the Western world fought against the Nazis in World War II. What have changed ever since? Why we cannot get victory like we did back then, and we're stuck with the same enemies for decades. Instead of just taking them down. It presents a moral case for Israel and for the war against its enemies and a plan on how to actually win. This book is crucial for people who want to protect the Western world, and it also showcases many other conflicts the Western world has been dealing with in the past decades.
Thank you, WUB, for saying good to see Razi back from prison. That might be a joke now, but who knows? But also, yeah, the war, which hopefully is coming sooner rather than later. I was going to say we'll be back tomorrow on the Daily Objective, but hopefully we'll be back sooner because the strike on Iran will start whenever it does. We will be here, so make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. I'm Razi Ginsburg on X. See you.